Hello, Morongo Basin, and listeners around the world online at Z107.7 FM.com. Here is the Z107.7 Local News for Friday, May 15th, 2026. Temperatures are rising, and that means it's rattlesnake season. The deadly and misunderstood creatures are a common sight throughout the Morongo Basin. While rattlesnakes are known to bite humans, they will usually only do so out of defense. If you see a rattlesnake, your best bet is to leave it alone and keep your pets away. If the snake is in your house, that may be a different matter. Rattlesnake Wrangler Danielle Wall is a local volunteer who rescues and relocates rattlesnakes from homes, vehicles, and businesses. She was a guest at Monday's meeting of the Landers Homestead Valley Association, where she discussed snake season and why rattlers can sometimes find themselves in those unusual places. Annalise Kuiper brings us this report.
A presentation by Danielle Wall, local snake relocator, sparked a lively response from the meeting attendees as she gave tips on what to do and what not to do in the event of an encounter with a desert snake. Pay attention to where you put your hands and feet is sage advice. Do not try to pick up any snake or attempt to move it yourself, and secure pets away from the snake. Here Danielle explains how snake season is getting longer.
I've been out doing this since February now. Snake season really hit full force real early. I had 8 weeks between the last snake call in December to the snake call this season. So right now we're in the 90s, and so most people think that the rattlesnakes like the extreme heat. It's not true. If you don't want to be in the sun for more than 30 seconds, neither does that rattlesnake. We have a very, very similar comfort zone to rattlesnakes. Like, so the call I was just on, the lady came home, she was unloading her groceries, and in her covered cardboard, concrete slab, she passed that snake like 4 times, and he's just chilling there like, oh, that's this good spot, I'm not giving it up, but this is uncomfortable. But did it move, didn't rattle, and so that kind of, she was kind of surprised by that, and so she realizes that if it stays still and quiet, you don't see them 99% of the time. That's what the statistics are. And so the heat time right now, it's like you go outside and all your shady zones are going to be snake zones right now.
If you have a rattlesnake encounter and need Danielle's help, call 707-696-4691. Reporting for Z107.7 News, I'm Annalise Kuiper.
A Morongo Unified School District instructional assistant was named the county's Classified School Employee of the Year. On Tuesday, the San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools recognized Paula Elsa Lynch from 29 Palms High School. Lynch has served as an instructional assistant for students with disabilities for 8 years. The county-wide honor recognizes classified employees who demonstrate exceptional dedication, leadership, and service in support of students, schools, and their communities. Lynch works closely with teachers, SELPA, and families to support students' goals and ensure measurable academic and personal progress beyond the classroom. Lynch actively participates in school-wide and community activities that promote inclusion and engagement for students with special needs. She organizes community-based instruction opportunities, such as grocery shopping, transportation, training, and educational excursions that help students develop functional life skills. Morongo Unified School District Superintendent Dr. Patricio Vargas said, quote, Elsa embodies the heart of what it means to support students in special education. The Joshua Basin Water District Board of Directors meets in special session on Monday. On their agenda is the board's second budget workshop. The public is invited to join the board and General Manager Sarah Johnson to review and revise the Water District's annual business plan and proposed capital budget. The Joshua Basin Water District Board of Directors meets Monday at 1 p.m. at their office at 61750 Choyita Road in Joshua Tree. You can find the full agenda and a link to attend remotely at this story at Z107.7 FM.com. The town of Yucca Valley's Aquatic and Recreation Center has been under construction for several years and is currently on schedule for a completion date of September 21st. As town residents have watched the structure rise over Brem Park, there are still a few questions remaining that they need answered before they can hop into the pool. On last Friday's episode of the Z107.7 Up Close show, a listener called in to ask host Gary Daigneault about possible fees associated with using the aquatic center. Up Close show guest Clayton Reardon from the town's Parks and Recreation Department said that while nothing is settled just yet, he provided some insight into possible pricing.
There are fees. How much are those fees?
So we're in the process of identifying what those are going to look like as we build out the rest of the budget and get those approvals and take that to town council.
So their answer is you don't know yet.
We are leaning into somewhere between $240 to $300 for an annual membership for an adult. So, we're trying to keep it at or just over $20 a month. Seniors would be a little bit less than that, and then children would be a little less than half. So figure, somewhere between $90 and $120 for a kid, somewhere between $140 and $160 for a senior.
A month in average. So,
yeah. I mean, and that's one of the big challenges with this facility is that right sizing the facility, identifying the programs, and then making sure that the facility is accessible to this community. We have financial challenges of programming and operating the facility balanced against the attendance and the use and creating value for that membership. We need to trying to make sure that we are offering the community enough that they want to be there and they want to keep coming back and that the facility is full.
You can hear their full conversation by listening to the Z107.7 Up Close show as a podcast at our website, Z107.7FM.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. Landers residents are returning to Homestead Valley Park for another cleanup effort. Volunteers are working toward what they are calling a resurrection of the public park. They're asking you to roll up your sleeves, grab some trash bags, and make your local park sparkle. The organizers will be providing free food and drink. The Homestead Valley Park cleanup is happening tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Tomorrow at Desert General in 29 Palms, authors Gina Frangello and Emily Rapp Black will be discussing their approach to literature of the body and the body as a vessel of truth and resistance in both fiction and nonfiction. Reporter Gabriel Hart spoke to Frangello and Black about their respective approach to this unique angle.
Gina Frangello celebrates the re-releases of her two earliest books of fiction, My Sister's Continent and Slut Lullabies from Northwestern University Press, which earned her reputation as a risk-taking and subversive explorer of desire, class, feminism, and psychosexual power dynamics.
I mean, I write very kind of like feminist cultural critique hybrided into fiction and nonfiction. And so for me, I've always been very interested in kind of like addressing the truths of women's bodies. The variances, again, I write a lot about illness, but also a lot of like psychosexual work. And I come up from a tradition of sort of French feminist theory, psychoanalysis. I have a PhD in English and with a concentration in gender theory. And I've always been very interested in sort of this, imperative of writing the body as a way of kind of an alternative to sort of traditional patriarchal discourse for women. So, and also at this point for people of color, for queer people, for people with disabilities, like Emily's work.
In Emily Rapp Black's new craft book, I Would Die If I Were You, Notes on Art and Truth-Telling, she explores the themes of disability, loss, and the saving power of story that made her a New York Times bestselling author, resisting the narratives that others have tried to impose on her life.
The book's title comes from a phrase I've heard a lot during my life, which is, I would die if I were you, when I've told them my life story. And so, yes, there's a lot of sadness in the book vis-a-vis my life story. However, I will say, too, that it's a very funny book. It's a very hopeful book. And it's not so much about any one thing as it is about writing, and the act of writing is a salvific thing for people, and creativity is a way of managing all of the resident miseries of our world in a creative and joyful way.
Gina Frangello and Emily Rapp Black discuss literature of the body this Saturday, May 16th at 4 p.m. at Desert General in 29 Palms, located at 6427 Mesquite Road, next to Kitchen in the Desert. The event is free and open to the public. Reporting for Z107.7 News, I'm Gabriel Hart.
And finally, a new art exhibit in Yucca Valley is calling on active military and veterans to submit artwork. High Desert Artist Gallery is hosting a special exhibition called Bloom Where You're Planted on June 19th. They are specifically requesting current and former military service members and their families to submit artwork that focuses on themes of home, reinvention, resilience, and belonging through the experiences of military-connected communities. The exhibition will exclusively feature active duty military personnel, veterans and their spouses or children, Organizers say the show encourages artists to reflect on questions many military families understand deeply, like what does home mean when you move frequently? And what roots do we create in temporary places? Submissions are open through June 8th. The exhibition runs June 19th through July 14th with an opening reception on June 20th. Entries are free for military participants. To submit artwork, visit high-desertartist.com or use a link at this story at Z107.7fm.com. That's our local news. Hear local news 7 times a day, 7 days a week at 7, 8, 9, noon, 4, 5, and 6. Reporting for the Morongo Basin News Leader, the award-winning Z107.7 Local News, I'm News Director Jeff Harmatz.